Hey, hello everybody. Welcome to the presentation on InduSoft Web Studio version 7.1 plus Service Pack 3. Thank you very much for attending this. There are some exciting features that you're going to be seeing on this new release that's coming up. And I'm going to cover that really quick. But before we go there, let me just explain really quick how this WebEx work. You can hear me, but I cannot hear you. So if you say something, I'm not listening and I'm going to continue on the presentation. If you have questions, I would appreciate if you could save them for the end, or you can even type them in the chat, and I'm going to go back in the end and review your questions and try to address them. But as I go along, especially during the presentation, I might, be logged in on a remote computer specifically because some of this presentation is going to be a live demo that I'm doing logging to a remote virtual machine. So I'm not going to be seeing your chat all the time. I might try to answer in the middle of the presentation, but for sure I'm going to look at it at the end. So let's get started. So let's first take a quick look at our agenda today. So we're going to talk about the Service Pack 3. The first thing is going to be a brief introduction to you on the Service Pack 3 and about myself as well. Second, I will give the highlights on the Service Pack 3. You see that there are a lot of things that we actually added to the Service Pack 3. But the highlights will bring you the most important items, at least from our perspective. Of course, depending on the functionality using the product, a feature might have a higher or lower priority, but at least at what we believe the market share, that's what I'm presenting here. And then we'll have a live demo, and at the end we'll have the question and answers. So this should last 1 hour. This is about version 7.1 Service Pack 3. We are very excited about this new release, and it's actually our first release being part of the Schneider family and working with Invensys. So we're going to show you how you're evolving the product and moving very fast to meet the demands of our clients, and hopefully you're going to be able to do more business and benefit from the new functionalities that we're going to be presenting to you here today. So introduction. So really quick about myself. I am Lorenzo Teodoro. I'm the Director of Software Development here at InduSoft. I work out of Austin, Texas, in our office in Austin. So great city for those of you who want to visit us here. We're very open to that, so you can get to know us. But that's pretty much where I work from, and I pretty much manage the development teams of InduSoft worldwide. Previous webinars. So one thing that I'm not doing in this presentation is going in detail on specific functionality. I'm going to show what's new. Some of these, or you see, like one of the key things that we are doing is here on this release is related to mobile access and the capability to visualize your screens on all these different devices. I strongly recommend that if you're new to that, I strongly recommend that you go over the webinar using the InduSoft Web Studio to create HTML5 SCADA HMI graphics webinar. That webinar is available on our website. If you type HTML5 on the search box, you're going to be able to easily get to that webinar. And there is a step-by-step of the functionalities and everything. So if you're new to mobile access, that's a great video. The other one that I would really appreciate that you guys take a look into is our Google Glass video. So if you go to our website and you type Google Glass, we did a video where we use our mobile access into the Glass device, and our main idea for a release on that. Our mobile access technology already works with Google Glass, but we are trying to add more functionality. And we want to get input from you guys on how you think you can use this on your real-world applications. So I would really appreciate if you could go watch that video and put your inputs there so we can take that into consideration for the upcoming releases. Service Pack 3 summary. So here just a very quick brief summary about the work we did on Service Pack 3. So Service Pack 3 has about 15 new requirements. Those are completely new features that are part of the Service Pack, and we're going to be talking about some of them today. And we have about 40 change requests. A lot of these change requests we got from you guys asking our technical support or submitting requests to us, or even filling out the customer survey, which we really appreciate those of you who took the time to do that. And I just want to make sure and emphasize here that the development team is very customer-oriented. We want to make sure that we are delivering the right solutions for you to be productive and deliver systems to your clients. So we take that survey very seriously. So when you say that something is bad and we have to improve, we make sure we have that in our list and that we execute on that list to make sure you have a solution for your problems. So we really appreciate you taking the time into that, and we want to make sure that we can bring some value for the time you spent filling out that survey. All right, so highlights. We're going to go over the highlights on Service Pack 3 and the main functionalities that we are adding for Service Pack 3. So first, Service Pack 3 brings a lot to mobile access. And that's a technology that's pretty much everywhere, and InduSoft is on top of it, delivering HTML5 solutions that we don't see any other SCADA company doing. And we are doing that leveraging our existing applications. Make sure that the work you've done throughout the years with our products is leveraged, and that you can use that work to publish your applications in HTML5 and using the device or form factor of your preference. So into the mobile access, since Service Pack 2, we've added URL parameters, VB script, local tags, and combo box. We also did a lot of work to enhance the performance of our HTML5 solution, so you can have screens that are more complex running on these little devices. And the mobile access on Service Pack 3 is between 8 and 10 times faster than the mobile access was on Service Pack 2. So we are very proud of that, and we are only able to do that because of the expertise that we have in our team of developers who are able to really optimize the runtime engine for our mobile access technology. And I hope you're going to be able to enjoy that. OPC Lab certified. So actually, we are the first SCADA company to have an OPC UA client that's lab certified by OPC Foundation. And we're very proud of that. And in that process, OPC Foundation has helped us a lot. So I also want to thank them for all the work they did and all the inputs for us to make the adjustments and enhancements on our OPC client solution. And we got lab certified not only by OPC, not only for our OPC UA, but also for our OPC XMLDA module inside the product. And for those of you who are not familiar with what this is, in the past OPC Foundation used to give certifications for those users or those companies who would run self-tests and participate on the OPC interoperability events. And InduSoft always did that. Well, they have enforced higher requirements right now, and they demand that they go through a lab certification of your product in order to give you the certification. And with Service Pack 3, we are OPC Foundation Lab certified. So we passed through the lab certification. If you follow our blog, you probably already know that, but we went through that process and we got certified, and therefore Service Pack 3 is lab certified. We're also introducing support for the Wonderware Historian. That's the first of several developments that we're going to be doing with our friends at Invensys and also Schneider. It's for those of you who've been using the product for quite a while, you know that we have several capabilities to store historical data, but there was a void in our product, which was the lack of a historian, with the capabilities that are inherent from a historian there that people really need. And we partnered with Invensys here to bring this technology to our Service Pack 3. So you can get the Wanderer historian and you can connect to it using the InduSoft Web Studio, even in the CE platform, and store data into the historian. So that's the first development that we are doing together there. We've also developed tag integration with Unit from Schneider. So if you are using the Unit to program your Schneider PLC, you can use those tags directly inside InduSoft Web Studio. And that's a functionality that we are adding for it's fully functional on Service Pack 3. And I strongly recommend that you look into that so you don't have to create your tags twice. For those of you unfamiliar with tag integration pre means that you can create your tags in your PLC programming software and use those tags inside InduSoft Web Studio. So you don't have to recreate them or configure communication to use them. And we brought these concepts for the Unit Pro with the Schneider PLCs. We have also added support for tag integration for TwinCat 3. We have this long relationship with Backoff, where they provide us all the information we need to make sure the users that want to use our products with their products can do so in a very easy way. And we're having more and more customers now going with their new products, which is TwinCat 3. So we want to make sure those customers have the necessary support inside our software. Besides the driver that already works for quite some time, we also have the import wizard and tag integration working on Service Pack 3. Now, more functionalities that we added, you do have the capability to return online alarms metadata through scripts. So if by any reason you want to go through the alarms that are currently active and maybe take some action or do your own calculation based on those alarms, you can do so with built-in functions that we are adding on Service Pack 3. Enhanced OPC debugging capabilities. So as part of the getting lab certified by OPC Foundation, we added several tools in our product to make the OPC debugging a lot easier. So if you need to know, who is changing this tag value, or what happened in the communication, was there an error or something like that, you're going to see that Service Pack 3 has a lot of tools to help you with that. Support for PNG and TIFF files on Windows CE. That requirement is with us for quite some time, I would say. We have several customers who asked for this, and we are now bringing this to the Service Pack 3. The only thing is, in order to enable this functionality, we rely on decoders from Microsoft, which need to be part of your Windows CE device or Windows CE image. We haven't found any device that doesn't have those decoders. So all the devices we tried so far, they do have, if they have Windows CE 6 and higher. If you're developing an application and you are planning on using PNG, PNG is a very cool format because it has transparency and things like that. Before you go and deploy and develop your entire application, just make sure you send a single test to your CE device with the PNG to make sure it works. And if one PNG works, pretty much you can use PNG because it means the decoders are there, and there's no such a thing as half a decoder for PNG. So if you can load a PNG, you can pretty much load anyone that's out there. Support for linked pictures for system symbols. I think that will help us deliver more and more symbols to you. We are working on new libraries of linked symbols, and this capability in Service Pack 3 will allow us to deliver those libraries to you. modified the XML import function to work even when you do not have a development license. As part of our Service Pack 2, we added the capability to create screens during the runtime. So you can go and create a screen out of an XML file and import that screen. And the way you create that screen is by getting access to a toolkit that we have called XML Toolkit. So if you're interested in generating screens during the runtime, that's pretty much what you need. And on Service Pack 2, we would require you not only to have a development license, but you have the development license open when you call this function. Now we eliminated that requirement. So you can call the function and your screens will be automatically imported, and you don't need to have a development license. This will work with a runtime only license. Now, this last one in terms of the list of functionalities here, and again I selected what we believe are the main ones out of the Service Pack, but this one, maybe these functionalities are not huge or have a marketing, I would say, impact to the customers. But they're here to show that we not only pay attention to the technological trends and make sure that our product is up to date with the most current technologies, but we also listen to you guys and to the user experience in our product. And we want to make sure that we enhance that in every single release. And as part of that, we've made these changes and enhancements to our development environment. Most of these changes are in the development environment, except for the second one. But you do have the capability to edit multiple objects at the same time with Service Pack 3. So you can select, let's say, all the buttons on your screen and go and change the button type. If you don't want to have an OS button, you want to have a 3D button. So you can go and do that. And even if the objects are of different types. We have modified the grid control to allow changing the width during the runtime. So you can associate tag with the width of the grid, and you can change the width of the grid during the runtime. The replace dialog is now resizable. We have modified the control click so we avoid duplicate objects on the screen and have a more user-friendly behavior. So these are items that they usually don't go in the marketing material most of the time, but for people who are developing applications every day, they are very important because they save them time. And I just want to make sure you guys know that we are paying attention to that, and we are trying to bring these new enhancements to the product in every release that we create. Okay, live demo. So now it's time for the live demo. So let me just, if you give me just 1 minute, let me log on to my environment here. That's one thing that's very important. If you are a beta tester or you're an early adopter of the InduSoft Web Studio Service Pack 3, we strongly recommend that you use virtual machines during your tests and evaluation. This is because when we are still under development, we don't test against all the operating systems in all the different conditions, and you might run into problems with your computer. We want to make sure that doesn't happen. So if you're a beta tester or an earlier adopter, make sure you install this on a virtual machine. If you want to become a beta tester or an earlier adopter of our technologies, please just send an email to info@indusoft.com requesting that, and we are going to make sure to include you in the list and contact you and get you the products or the newest releases as before they actually come out, so you can evaluate and give us your feedback. And again, I just want to thank all the early adopters and beta testers for Service Pack 3. They've done a great job for us, so we really appreciate that. All right, so you are now seeing, or you should now be seeing the InduSoft Web Studio development environment. I'm going to try not to move too fast here. I'm just going to take a couple seconds to make sure you get your screens properly refreshed. Okay, so let's go now. So here is the InduSoft Web Studio with the Service Pack 3 properly installed, version 7.1. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a new project. And this is going to be, let's call it Mobile Access 3. Now the Mobile Access 2 is the presentation I was doing this morning. So let me just create a new project so we can have the start from scratch here. I really like to go into the basics of creating this. And one thing that I found that people are very excited about the Service Pack 3 is being able to use VB script with their mobile devices. And we worked very hard. I think we're the only company out there who have such a solution where now you can have your scripts running on these mobile devices. And let's see how that works. I'm going to create the most basic script that you can actually write. So let me go here into the graphics and add a button. And I'm going to name this button Hello World. Some feedback that I got in my last presentation is that I should not move as fast as I used to. So I'm going to give some pauses here so you guys can see what I'm doing. So I click on the command dynamic, and now you have the VB script. So I'm just going to create the very basic thing, which is to show a VB script message box, test, and I'm going to save this as my main screen. There we go, it's saved. Now I'm going to right click and set this as my startup screen. I also want to make sure that I publish this so I can get this working with the mobile access. Okay, so let's run. Okay, great. This is the InduSoft viewer, nothing new about it. If I click on the button, I see the message box. Great, that's good. Simple VB script, it's working. So let's see how we can now get this to work with the mobile access technology. So I enter the mobile access configuration here. Again, in my previous presentation, I show how to enable screens on mobile access, that functionality we actually added in the previous service pack. Now here in the service pack, we are going to see how the VB script actually works on those screens. So I'm going to I can put a label here, Hello World. I'm going to save this. Now I'm going to open the browser. I'm testing with Chrome. We do support Internet Explorer and Safari. The other thing is we support all the different devices. I mean, the key thing about the mobile access is that you can get your VB script running not only on your Microsoft platform, but also on all these different platforms that you're using. So if you need to use an iPad or an Android device, you can do so, even Windows RT. You can use the browser of your preference and get connected to the mobile access. So again, by default, when you install the mobile access, it gives you this URL that you should use to connect to it. And here I'm loading the mobile access navigation screen. I have my Hello World label. And then, there we go. I have my screen that I developed with the button. So if I click on the button, I see my message box. So the same script that works locally on the InduSoft Web Studio application can now work with the mobile access in your browser or device of your preference. The neat thing about this as well is not like a Windows solution working in your device, and that goes throughout the mobile access functionality. As you can see, if you are using a mobile device, the user experience on this is great. So yeah, I really recommend that you try, or if you look at my previous video, I'm also showing this working on an iPod, actually. So just so you can have an idea. All right, so I did the most basic thing, which is write a very simple script. Now, in order to show some more script and more capabilities, I want to go over another functionality that we are adding on the mobile access technology, which is the capability to have local tags. Local tags wouldn't work with our previous mobile access release, and we got several customers indicating to us that that was a very high priority. Simply because local tags is one of the reasons why InduSoft is so unique on its web and secure viewer capabilities, because you can pretty much have exactly the same screen being displayed to different people, and you can pretty much look at different data with the local tags. They help you to do a lot, like have different queries for the grid and things like that. I'm assuming that most of you have the basic concepts, or I'd say the advanced concepts, because I'm going to go very basic here on this demonstration. What I'm going to do, just to show the functionality, is to have a very typical example. Usually you would create a class for a tank, right, and have several variables inside that class that you can then use on your screen. And then you can use an array of tanks, being each index a different tank, and use a local tag as an index. I'm making it simpler here. I'm not even going to create a class for this. I'm going to just create something to represent the tank level. So let me create my tank level. The tank level is usually a real tag, right? And it's a server tag. It can be something that I'm reading from a PLC. And I'm going to assume that I have three tanks from 0 to 2. The array number here is actually the upper bound of my array, so it actually goes up to 3. And then I'll have a tag called tank index. So this tag will help me to say which tank I'm actually referring to. And this will be a local tag. So now I have a tank level and I have a tank index. The next step is let's go and work with our screen to see how I can actually make this work. I'm going to add a bar graph to the screen. So just clicking here, and I have a rectangle, very basic. And along with the rectangle, I'm going to associate the bar graph dynamic, or the bar graph animation. So clicked on bar graph, and I have here, and now I will type tank level, tank index. Of course, you can browse this here, clicking on the browse button, that also works. But I just want to say, well, this is a level, but depending on the tank that I select, which will be my tank index, I want to be looking at a different tank. Again, the tank level will usually be something that's coming from a remote device that you're reading with one of our communication drivers. But what we're going to be showing right now, we're going to try to simulate that tank value just using a text box. So we can type different levels for our tanks. And now I'm doing this with browsing, so just to show a different way of doing it. So I press Ctrl and drag, and now I have a copy of the object. I press Ctrl and drag again, I have a third copy of the object. So now I'm looking at my 3 indexes. And then I'm going to save this. Okay, good. I have my 3 levels. The other thing that you might want to have is, if the user is looking at this, you don't want him typing tank 1, tank 2, tank 3. You might want to just have buttons so he can select which tank he wants to monitor the level. So let's go and do that as well. So let's set here, this is our tank 0. We add the command animation to it. And we say, when you click here, I really want to look at tank 0. Can create a copy of this object. Okay. And now this one is going to be my tank 1. So I'm going to change the script to be tank 1, click on the back button, change the caption to be on tank 1 as well. And then do the same thing for the other tank, or the last tank. So now I have my tank 2, and I'll go back to the command, and here in the command I type tank index number 2. Then I save it. Now let's see how this actually looks like on our viewer. So I have 0, 0, 0. If I change here to 40, let's put here 60 and 80, right? If I click on tank 0, I'll see the 40, tank 1, I'll see the 60, tank 2, I'll see the 80. Nothing special here, and considering that I'm looking at the viewer, well, we already do this for years, right? Now, the cool thing that we have on our service pack is that if you log on now to the model access, the local tags can have different values from the server tags, plus the fact that the VB script will also work. Like the VB script that I did for those buttons, they will work as expected. So I'm going to click here on the screen, I'm going to go to Hello World, and there I have my different tanks, tank 0, tank 1, and tank 2. And I can see pretty much that I'm pointing to tank 0, but if I change my index to tank 1, I will be with tank 1, and here I will be on tank 2. Now the nice thing is that I can be looking at tank 1 here on this client, and if I go to my viewer, I can be looking at tank number 2 or tank number 0. So the local tags are completely decoupled, they are independent in every single client that you log on. Now if you want to see this even better, we can go and start our Safari. And maybe it's time for me to show another feature that we're adding on Service Pack 3, since Service Pack 2, which is the capability to type in the URL, the screen that you want to access. Because before, one of the inputs that we got from customers were, oh, we love your navigation system that you added for the mobile access. But it's not necessarily what I need for my iPad. But for the iPad, I would like to have directly access to my screen without having to go through your navigation. Or maybe my customer has a specific requirement and I cannot use your navigation screen. So we allowed you now to skip that, and you can do simply by typing on the URL screen equals screen name. That's still going to prompt you for the username and password, so you can type the username and password, but now you skip the entire navigation and you go directly to the screen. So pretty cool, the same screen that I can access from Chrome, I can now access from Safari, and I have the same local tag, so I can click on tank 1, I can click on tank 2, and the values here can be completely different from the values that I have on my Chrome version. So the server tags are shared, so if I come here in the text box and I type, let's say, oh, this one has level 90 now, right? If I go back to the other one, I will see that label with 90, and the bar graph will properly update as well if I go check the tank number 1. So local tags are fully functional on Service Pack 3, and you can use those with your mobile access solution. Now, let's go and check another feature. Again, for the URL, in our documentation, there will be other parameters that are also supported besides the screen. So take a look at that to see other parameters that are supported on Service Pack 3. Now, let me add the combo box control. That's another control that we're adding on Service Pack 3. Again, with the combo box, you can use data source static and data source database, so you can get your combo box items from a database. We are not allowing you to use data source text file on this release, so it's either database or static text. And I'm going to use the static very quickly, which is pretty much what I need for this demo. So I'm going to do tank 0, tank 1, and tank 2 into the combo box. Click OK again. Now here in the position, I will use my tank index tag. and then I'm going to resave my screen. Now, the beauty of the combo box in the way that we designed it, we did not design a desktop combo box to run on your mobile device. Instead, the combo box will behave in the same way that it should behave on your mobile device, so you can operate it with touch. So if you're using a touchscreen device, the combo box will be easy to use there, and you should be able to access it. So let me just access the screen again with Chrome, and I can see the combo box is right there. And if I make changes here to select a different tank, it will work. So if you're using a mobile device, instead of having a combo box that you have to select with the mouse, we bring the functionality that the device has in terms of allowing a big pop-up that's touch-friendly for you. So we think that's very important. All right, good. So let's move to the next item here. I also want to make sure that I don't exceed the time on this demo, so I have some time for you guys to go and ask us questions. And besides the mobile access, I want to touch into some other functionalities as well. The next thing that I want to show is we're growing the mobile access functionality and adding more and more to it. You're going to see a lot more functionalities coming on the next releases, especially now that we laid out the foundation for developing these new functionalities there. Now, one thing that's very important, or that we found very important, was, okay, if you're using this browser solution and you don't have the login to debug your application and you're accessing it on different devices, how can I actually debug in case something goes wrong? Well, we added a lot of logging functionality into the mobile access to help you with that, and I'm going to show you that really very quickly. If I go here on Chrome, and every browser has this to some level, it has some sort of console that you can use. On Chrome, this is inside Tools, and they call it Developer Tools. So what we did, we have integrated our mobile access solution with this developer tools that is built into the browser so that you can get information about what's happening. So for instance, when I access here, you can pretty much see that I have messages for opening screens and things like that. And if I close a screen and then I go back to it, you see new trace messages indicating the screen has been opened or the screen has been closed, how long it took it to load that specific screen. So we have several levels of logging, and we have logging for info, warning, and errors. That will make it very easy for you to debug your application. And just to give you an example, I want to talk about a specific thing that we did with the mobile access. As you know, InduSoft has a lot of built-in functions. Not all of them would apply to these mobile devices. And if a function is not supported, it's going to be listed in your documentation. That's fine. But it's not going to be many, because our goal is really you take your application, your viewer, and it should work on the mobile device. The ones that don't make sense are not going to be supported, like get computer IP. You know, that function, it doesn't make sense to call from your mobile device. But there are going to be, or we don't even have access to get that information sometimes. But there will be other cases where it will make sense. And there will be cases where it makes sense, but we haven't had the time to implement the function. We implemented almost all of them. But we wanted to make sure that your application could run and that you would be able to use those functions. So the way that we did, if we didn't have time to implement a function, we are making a remote call on the server to execute that function for us. And there are just a few functions that will work like that. Most of the functions, they should work natively on the mobile device itself. Now, the way that you can know, you can always go to the documentation, but the main thing that can happen is that your application is not going to be as fast as you expect. And this logging will help you identify that. So if you run into that scenario, and I'm basically mentioning that pretty much because I want to show you how powerful that log can be. So let me just do a very simple example here. what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a button, and in this button, I'm going to configure a command. So in this command, I will type text tag, so just a tag of string type, and I will say test value or something like that, and concatenate with a call to our format function. And I'll put %02D just to have a number with 2 digits, and I'm going to display my second tag. So that's a very simple implementation, right? The second tag there with the format function, it asks me to create the tag. That's completely fine. The other thing that I want to mention about this is if you're using the mobile access and you are doing this traces and debugging in the browser to see what's happening, we added here in the global settings something called level. So the log level 3 is the level that will help you with performance issues. We add more messages that are related to performance. I'm adding this to be a level 3 message so we can see some specific messages in the demo that I'm presenting to you. So let's see. This is my my tag text. So can have a description here or not. It doesn't really matter. Now I have my text tag. Let me just display the value of that text tag here. Okay. Now I'm going to make a copy of this. Okay. Just relocate it. Then I press the Control key and I make a copy of it. Now, in the copy, I'm just going to edit the script. And instead of calling the format function, I'm going to call a different one. Okay. So we have this built-in function. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. Some applications use it quite a lot when they have to manipulate data. But it's called datetime2clock. So this function helps you convert date and time to an integer in seconds so you can go and do some calculations. So I'm going to use the internal tag date and the internal tag time. Now let me save this screen and let me go back to my browser, and I'm going to access the screen the mobile access again and enter in the screen here. Now as you can see, because I put level 3, I have more messages here. So besides opening screen and finish it opening screen, I have start expression execution, waiting for tag values, finish receiving values. So if you have a performance problem, you have an easy way to know where the problem was. Was it when I was expecting the tags from the server, and then you can make the necessary adjustments there. Now I have my 2 buttons here. So if I click on this button, it will execute the code, and on level 3, we show an internal ID for that button that we use, the code that we are executing. So it's pretty cool to have that. Now when I click on the one on the format function, that's pretty much what I have. Now when I click on the one for the date time, we log this. So the datetime2clock function is a function that we call remotely on the server to help us identify. So we show this level 3 warning telling you, hey, this function is called remotely. So that's a way for you to know that, okay, if I'm calling this remotely, maybe I don't want to use it on a for loop or something like that, because my screen might be slow, So it's just for something for you to be careful as you write your scripts for mobile access. All right, so we covered pretty much what I wanted to with the mobile access. So now let me go very quickly into the other functionalities that we are adding. So I mentioned the capability to edit multiple objects at the same time. So if I select these 2 buttons here, and access the object properties, I can now make changes that will apply to both of them. So I just changed the caption and it's now changing for both objects. If I'm not happy with the 3D shape of that button and I want to use a OS-like, I can pretty much come here in the style and make the change. Now, if you select objects that are of different type, like you select a button and you select a text box, we show something with the common properties. Some of these were already in the ribbon if you go here in this Formats tab, as you can see on the top, but some of them were not, and we added. Like now, you can set the security level. So you can pretty much select all the objects on the screen and set their security level, and we will make that security level apply to all of them. Same thing for background color, e-signature, and disable. So you can see that, it's very cool. I think it will help you to develop your applications faster. Of course, I believe most of you are using linked symbols, which are very powerful to help you not duplicating things, but you might have scenarios where you want to have this multiple selection and being able to edit objects that way. Okay, the next thing that I want to show you is, let me see here, I don't have my output window, so let me restore the default so I can see my output window. I talked about the OPC. Now, one of the complaints we had with the OPC was, okay, when I enable the OPC log, I get all these different messages, and I cannot really know what's happening there. So when we developed the OPC UA, we said, you know what, let's not show all those weird messages there. Instead, let's just show messages that have when you have errors or things like that. And then other customers started complaining, well, now when I'm receiving the tag value, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if the OPC is sending me the value. So what we did now, when you enable the login for the OPC UA or OPC XML DA, you can filter. You can select the type of message that you want to see, if it's a read, connection, write, or subscription. And here in the verbosity, if you select information, we only show information messages. If you select warning, we will show you the warnings, and then you can see errors. So you can pretty much select. And pretty much information shows everything. Warning will show errors or warnings, and if you select error, you only see errors. So if you're running your application, you probably want to select error, and if something goes wrong, you go and you enable more features, so you can actually see what's happening there. So that's new to Service Pack 3. And that's part of the what we did together with OPC Foundation on the lab certification there. The next thing that we added, the Wonderware Historian capability. So if you click to insert a trend in our product, you are already familiar with this. We can send data to databases. Now we add this option to Wonderware Historian. So if you select the Wonderware Historian, then you can click on this button, the Historian window will come up, and then you can type the name of your Historian server, username and password, and then we're going to connect to the Historian, automatically create the tags for you, so you don't have to create any tags on the Historian, and store the data there. So everything happens automatically, and it's very user-friendly for our users who are already familiar with how the trend works. So the trend control will automatically go and query the database, the historian for data, and there is pretty much nothing that you need to configure extra other than setting up your historian settings here. Okay, so I think that pretty much finishes my live demo of the features. We're almost running out of time. We only have 10 minutes left. So let me just go back here to my slide presentation. And after the live demo, the last thing that we have in our list is the Q&A session. So if you have questions, I would really appreciate if you could type those in the chat. That's the easiest way for me to actually go and view them. And I know there is a Q&A panel here somewhere that I cannot find. If you typed it in the Q&A, I would appreciate if you could go ahead and just send it in the chat. Okay, so first questions, which devices are supported? We are testing this always with the latest devices, that's in the latest OSs. So this Service Pack 3 Mobile Access is running with iOS 7, Windows Phone 8, and the latest version of Android, which I can't remember on top of my head, but we are using the latest version of Android. So those are the OSs that we are running. As far as browsers on the Windows, we are testing with Chrome and Internet Explorer, and Mac OS is pretty much the Safari browser, if you're familiar with that. And of course, when we go to the iPad, we are also using the Safari. Okay, so what version of .NET InduSoft supports? As far as .NET controls, if you're using .NET controls inside the product, InduSoft is supporting .NET Framework 2.0 and 3.5. So I believe those are the versions that you can develop your .NET controls in. I'm pretty sure about that. Can you view Mobile Access on Google Chrome? Yeah, of course. I mean, my demo, I don't know if you are able to realize, but I was using Chrome. Yeah, it's Chrome and Safari and Internet Explorer. Can you use tags in curly brackets in the combo box when you are using the HTML5? Good question. I think I have to cover that use case. I'm pretty sure you can. If we support on the InduSoft Web Studio, that should work as well into the mobile access. So I'm going to make sure we confirm that's part of the release there, but it should work. Does the OPC UA client in InduSoft support OPC tunneling to a remote OPC server? I'm not sure what you mean by tunneling. We conform to the OPC UA standard there. If you mean that if we support connecting to an OPC DA through OPC UA, the answer to that is yes. If you have a wrapper on the OPC DA side that's wrapping the OPC DA server, you can pretty much use OPC UA to talk to it. Are programs created with Service Pack 1 and 2 fully upgraded to Service Pack 3? Yes, definitely. Not only that, even 7.0 or 6.1, we make a very big effort to make sure that our applications are compatible between the different releases. Now, if your application is going to be fully compatible with the mobile access, then you have to look at the features that are supported by mobile access, for instance, because we don't support all the functionality yet. We eventually support everything. As you could see, probably script was the hardest functionality to enable in the mobile access, so our goal is to get everything working. But definitely, if you're using SP1 and SP2, you can go and migrate your application to SP3. Sorry here, I'm getting just too many questions, so let me make sure that I can go over all of them here. How can I use the TwinCats 3 driver? It's pretty much the same driver. The driver that we use for the regular TwinCats now supports also the TwinCats 3. Does Unix tag integration support the M340 and Quantum PLCs? Yes, it does support those PLCs. Do you use the Modbus protocol to communicate with it? Yes, we use the Modbus protocol to communicate with it, but it's completely transparent to you because the driver accepts tag names as long as you configure the UnitPro XML file. And if you use tag integration, then you don't even have to create communication worksheets. When opening a development client with SP2 and latest project is located on a server that's no longer connected, IWS opens very slowly. Is this still happening with Service Pack 3? Well, are you referring to a collaboration server that you are using there that's offline? Is that the case? I know we've made enhancements on recent patches on the collaboration technology there. If that's the case, I would recommend trying the latest patch. If that's still not acceptable for you, just contact our support and we'll help you. We did perform some enhancements with collaboration on Service Pack 3, but nothing major. The main thing that we are doing on the recent updates was to make sure that you could use the Microsoft Cloud. So if you have the TFS Cloud service, you can use with our solution. And we use that here. So that's what we use internally for our own projects. Are there planning for nested classes? Yes, we are that's a work in progress. I think getting this new text database on the Model Access Engine was our first step, and we're adding that to version 8. We don't know if in the first release of version 8 or if this is going to be part of a service pack for version 8, but yes, we are working very hard to enable that functionality to you guys. Yeah, so sometimes the OPC UA is not in the same computer as the server, so that's needed for tunneling. I would say, I don't know what you mean by that, because OPC can connect over TCP/IP or HTTP, and our client supports that. So you can have the OPC server running on a remote computer, and we support the whole security infrastructure with certificates as well on our clients, so you can enable security and have a safe connection with your remote server. So the server can be running on a remote machine, yes. Can I develop with a 7.1 SP3 development license and deploy on a 7.0 runtime? No, you cannot do that with the current version. Now what you can do, you can deploy with Service Pack 3, 7.1 as Service Pack 3, and deploy on 7.1 without the Service Pack 3. As long as you are not using functionality that was only added on 7.1 SP3, that will work. Okay, so I think there was a repeating question on how can I use the TwinCats 3 driver. I thought I had answered that, but I think we had a webinar that shows you how to use the TwinCats driver and how to communicate with the back-off devices. So if you go on your website and you search for that, you'll find a video demonstrating the TwinCats 3 functionality on the driver. Our driver in the website already communicates with TwinCats 3. What we're adding on Service Pack 3 is the tag integration. When the runtime is connected, I think the question on the remote server you're referring to when you're using redundant servers and one server is no longer online and you're still running the application. Yes, we identify that in those scenarios it would be slow for you to run the application when that happens, and we are addressing that even prior to the service pack. We are addressing that on a patch that's supposedly going out early next week. Is there going to be the ability to have multiple versions of InduSoft Web Studio running on the same machine? You can already have multiple versions of InduSoft on the same machine. You can just not have automatically have multiple service packs in the same machine. So you can install 7.0, 6.1, and 7.1 on the same computer, and it will work. If you need multiple service packs, there is a manual way of doing that. I recommend if you have that need to contact our technical support about it. Is Service Pack 3 the last service pack before the next major version? In our roadmap, yes. Currently is the last service pack before version 8. Our next release should be version 8. And just to clarify on the target dates, we have a new patch coming out next week, and the service pack should come right after that patch. So the service pack should come either mid-April or end April. It will really depend. Now we're in the release candidate phase. The early adopters are using the product on real-world applications, and it will depend on the feedback that we get from them to define if this is stable enough for release. In our internal tests, everything is working as expected, but we also want to make sure that we get the early adopters satisfied with the deliverables, and then we will roll out the service pack to everybody. We're running out of time, and I think I really appreciate you all participating in this. I'm really impressed by the number of people in this presentation. I think we probably hit new highs here with the number of people who actually attended. Thank you very much for participating in this. I know you take your time and you use these solutions, and we just want to emphasize you're working very hard to deliver the top niche technology that you can use with our products, and we really appreciate you being an InduSoft customer. Thank you very much again for participating in this, and you guys will be notified when the service pack is available on our website, and you will receive the survey at the end of this webinar. Thank you and have a nice day.